And it is the Saturday Coffee Klatch with Heather Lofthouse and yours truly, Robert Reich. Well, we are now in the post-100-day world, Heather.
2, 3, 102, 3.
What are we doing? What are we going to talk about today?
Well, let's talk about the post 100-day outlook.
Okay.
And I want to know, let's discuss, is democracy going down the tubes? Is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, it's a pretty big question, a pretty big topic. But, I am feeling today a little bit positive.
Phew. Someone's got to be.
You're not?
Not so much.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm feeling positive.
Give me
Because
a list.
May Day was a very, very big demonstration across the country. And I knew it was going to be big, but it was bigger than even I assumed. And it was not only the big cities, it was also towns. There were towns, even communities that were in red states that had voted for Donald Trump. I feel that there is a huge, in fact, I wrote about this yesterday on Substack, a huge pushback that is starting. And what Trump is doing is uniting people against him. He's actually creating more collaboration, more unity.
And alliances, I know.
It's really amazing to see the development of this countervailing anti-Trump power in this country and around the world.
But so what are some more examples? So the May Day demonstrations.
Well, the demonstrations and also, the Republican town halls have been a disaster for the Republicans. The few that have countered the advice that they were getting and actually held these town halls, they continue to be. And it's not Democrats who are going. It's constituents in these places, in these districts. They're angry. They're angry about Musk. They're angry about the loss of veterans' benefits. They're angry about everything that Trump is doing. So that's another way in which people are coming together. Another thing that I've noticed is that the courts. Now, I've been a court watcher, Heather, forever.
Yeah.
And
who isn't?
And I used to do that kind of stuff. The courts are more united on this issue of Trump and violating particularly immigration rights and due process than I've seen the courts being united on almost anything, even the Supreme Court. You think of the two decisions they've made so far around immigration, 9-0, all Supreme Court justices, a unanimous Supreme Court. When was the last time we had a unanimous Supreme Court decision? And then a 7-2 was the other one.
Even though the White House is claiming that they were in favor.
Well, the White House can do whatever it wants. And we had this past week a Trump appointed judge.
Out of Texas,
saying that Trump cannot use the Aliens Act of 1798.
Yeah, Alien Enemies Act.
So
what's the significance of that?
Well, it's important because Trump has based his entire deportation strategy, particularly the Venezuelans, on the power, presumably, that comes under this act. And the judge said, no, this act is only in wartime. It's only to be used in wartime. The specific language in the act says only for war. And there's no war going on. Hello? You can't create a war with Venezuela. And you as president, I thought this was actually the most interesting part of the opinion, you as president cannot decide when the United States is at war. I'm hearkening back to the War Powers Act and all of the issues that we've had over the years. And I was impressed. A Trump-appointed judge in Texas comes out with this opinion.
And it had to do with merits, right?
Yeah, this is on the merits. This was not a preliminary injunction, temporary restraining order. This was actually this was the first judge, the first court to decide on the merits that Trump could not do this.
And then some other things this week. So we saw Mohsen Madawi, who had been taken at his citizenship interview, right, by ICE. But so he is now free and out, and he rallied a bunch of people.
Very moving. Did you find? I thought it was very, that we shall overcome.
Yes. and singing with people. I know. So that was good, and I think deserves to be on the list. What about when J.B. Pritzker? So we have obviously Bernie and AOC are doing their oligarchy tour, but it's nice to see some other Dems speaking fiercely on a microphone.
And Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, obviously has his eye on the White House, possibly in for the next presidential election. And he comes out on Sunday and he says that he's never been in favor of a national strike or a national mobilization or that kind of large scale. But now he's changed his mind. He thinks that we do have to have something that is really large and something that expresses the nation's outrage at what's happening. Well, I think that's important when a leading Democrat, particularly one who is leading or at least thinking about the presidency, comes out that strongly. And then, Heather, you also have all of the universities coming together, the university presidents. Now, universities are like herding cats. I mean, I've tried to get university presidents to sign on to various things. You can't do it. But they did. They came together and they supported Harvard, and they supported not just Harvard, but they supported freedom, academic freedom. They signed on 140 university presidents. And on top of that, you have 400 law firms coming, signing the friend of the court brief, the amicus brief for Perkins Coie, and then 800 law firms signing it for two other law firms that came under Trump's aegis.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
So
no, you can't be.
I'll fib a little bit. Yeah, I'll just fib a little bit. But so I like all of these things as a collection.
I can go on and on and on.
Together. And but I still, so I think as soon as you're talking about, it's great that all these university presidents came together. I think of Trump 24 hours ago or whenever it was saying, I'm still going after Harvard C3 status.
I think actually all of this momentum that's being created against him is actually, in the short term, making him and fueling even a more furious Trump. He doesn't back down. He doesn't want to back down. But he did have to back down from Harvard initially. He did have to back down from China. I mean, he does when he faces immovable objects, and he senses it. And I think he's going to sense it soon when all of these groups start coming together against him.
And having to back down even a little bit for a narcissist. I mean, the Mike Walls thing was we're moving him from one place to another, but it's still, it's not great.
Well, he didn't. That's right. He doesn't talk about it. But even, can I just elaborate on my thesis here?
Yeah, let's go.
Because even countries, I mean, Canada, which is not a country that easily comes together. The provinces have much more independent authority. Multiculturalism has a force that keeps Canada from being quite as unified, but Trump has unified Canada. And the Canadians got behind their new prime minister.
The Liberal Party.
And the Liberal Party. The Conservatives were doing much better. And then this Liberal Party charged up. And I think even Europe is showing signs. The European community was always racked by dissent. It is showing signs of coming together against Trump.
So I'm trying to hold these seeds of hope.
Yes.
At the same time.
Do you want more? I mean, I can give you as many.
But truly, I dread looking at the news. I've never dreaded looking at the news.
Well, I understand that.
And I open up the New York Times and I see which ones are, with the little red live, and there's always something new on the homepage.
It's horrible.
And it's bad thing after bad thing after bad thing after bad thing.
It is horrible. It is not going to get better. But I think what gives me hope right now, post 100 days, is that the countervailing anti-Trump forces inside the United States, inside the population, inside our institutions, among our institutions, globally, are feeling their oats, are getting stronger.
Right.
And I think they will continue to get stronger. I think this is good. It's good for a lot of reasons. I think that America was, couldn't have been staying on the road we were on, Heather. You've heard me
years.
rattle on about this.
Inequality.
But the raging
Money in
inequality,
politics.
the degree of corruption and money coming in from big corporations into our politics and wealthy people. And I mean, the road we were on was better than where we are right now, obviously, but I think the road we were on was not sustainable. And if we do have this kind of huge upheaval against Trump, we might actually have a chance to put ourselves back on the road we should have been on.
Right.
Am I being too optimistic?
I don't think you're too optimistic. I just really hope that the timeline is fast on this and not decades to recover. But I agree. I mean, of course. I mean, we're seeing it so starkly. There is no denying the corruption and the crypto side games going on. I mean, it is undeniable. And so it helps when the veil is removed.
The veil is removed. That's what's happening. We can see, the Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. The veil is removed. We see these people for whom they really are.
Mm-hmm.
We see the CEOs who have taken Trump's side. We see them for the people they really are. It's like pressing that reveal code, remember, on the computers, and you can actually see behind everything. And I think this is also what's happening. We can see it. See power. Power.
But I'm sorry to be such a cynic. So
You're
now,
not a cynic. You've never been a cynic.
No, I'm not really. But I do think, I mean, every time you say something positive, I think I'm stuck in this loop of, but what about this other thing? So right now, the White House has issued a version of a budget, right? Now, this is about discretionary spending, non-defense, though we also have some signals about what they're aiming for with defense. You've been around a lot of White Houses and budgets.
Many.
So what does this mean? I mean, it doesn't stick as such, but what do we take from it?
No, when the White House puts out a budget. Now, remember, most of the White House budgets I've been around
How'd that go?
Congress would say, hello, it's very nice you came out with a budget. But here we have Republicans in control of both chambers, and they are Republicans.
Saluting.
Absolutely saluting. So this budget is not just to be ignored. It is important in the sense that it signals that Donald Trump and the Trump regime, the people around him, they want to cut anything from the budget that helps vulnerable people. And I'm talking about children, people who are sick, people who are minorities, anything that helps vulnerable people, boom. And anything that helps defense, strengthen the America, yes.
Homeland Security.
Defense, and yes, that's all being increased.
But it's not just vulnerable people. I mean, it's education. It's all of these critically important, I mean, PBS we saw.
Yeah, but education is a good example. What they're cutting is federal education dollars. Now, federal dollars in education go mostly to poor schools and poor kids and kids with learning disabilities. These are vulnerable people.
Right.
These are the vulnerable people I'm talking about. Veterans benefits, again, many of them go to veterans who have, understandably, a lot of problems, emotional problems, because they were veterans. They have been in combat. So this is...
And labor? It's not good for labor either.
Yes, and it's lousy for labor. But the programs in labor that they're cutting are programs like mine safety.
Right.
I mean, these are people who are vulnerable, minors. So I want to stick to my vulnerability theme because I think it's very closely related to the one philosophy. I don't want to make it grandiose, but there is an underlying philosophy to the emerging Trump regime, and that is social Darwinism, the survival of the fittest. This is what Elon Musk keeps talking about.
Yeah, I'm not invited to Mars, I don't think.
I don't think I am.
I know you're not.
No, I'm definitely. No, they don't want me on Mars, and maybe you would qualify?
No, I'm too associated with you.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
doomed.
That's true.
But really, you're exactly
and
right.
most of you are not going to Mars either.
I hate to break it to you.
Terrible to break it, yeah.
But really, so it's this social Darwin, it's the strong people, it's the
Survival of the strong.
as defined by us.
As defined by the strong. And the strong are white, and they're male, and they are college graduates, even though they pay a lot of attention. Say they pay attention to working class? No. The big winners, and they will come out from the tax cut. Now, we were talking about the budget a moment ago, but the cuts in the budget that are designed to give a little bit of room to another huge tax cut for the wealthy.
And corporations.
And big corporations.
We've seen this so many times. Why have we not learned?
We haven't learned because the power structure of America is with the wealthy and big corporations, and even the Democrats over the years have been reluctant to take on that
and then in Trump
emerging power structure.
Trump won, we saw this with the tax cuts, and here we go again.
Here we go again. Now, he did say he was going to give tax cuts. Many very wealthy people and a lot of big corporations gave him a lot of money during the campaign and for his inauguration because they expected, and they still expect these big tax cuts.
Right.
And he's talking about $4 or $5 trillion of tax cuts on top of the $4.5 trillion he's already given, again, disproportionately to the wealthy and to big corporations.
I'm sorry to be Debbie Downer and pessimistic Patty, and sorry to all Debbies and Patties, but again, so part of the problem as we watch this and the 100 days and all week having to watch his press tour, I mean, it's a marketing mission.
He's marketing mayhem.
Right.
I mean, that's what he is. That's what he, for his whole life, he's
so
been
it's
marketing
100
mayhem.
days, and we had to watch so many clips of just, Mr. President, I mean, your first 100, no one has done 100 days in the history. It's incredible.
You mean
Mr.
the cabinet?
President,
That wasn't disgusting.
the cabinet, and then he's doing speeches and everyone's clapping. But so all the sycophants around him make me so nervous as all this stuff. I mean, I keep waiting for a couple to peel off. We have a few examples of maybe someone raising their hand and saying,
Well, I think you can wait a long time. No, I don't want. I'm still in the
it's helpful.
positive camp.
We can switch next week.
I'm still
Deal?
in the positive camp. But I think it's going to take a while for Republicans to be ripped off or peeled off from Trump. I mean, even Lindsey Graham this week, he puts together a coalition, bipartisan, in the Senate, and it looks like it is veto-proof, 67 senators on this bill. And I think to myself, wow, that's really something. It's a bill to force Russia to sit down at the table with Ukraine and maybe give Trump some backbone in his deal. But actually, the closer I got to looking at it, the less it seemed. It is really something that it's mush.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So there's no real peeling back the Republicans. I think there were 3 Republicans who signaled this week that they would not go along with Trump. Murkowski.
Around the tariffs.
Around the tariffs.
Right.
This is Murkowski and
Paul.
Rand
and
Paul
Collins.
and Collins. But that's 3 senators.
But I'll take it.
You'll take it, and I'll take it.
That's on my positive list. It's not on your positive list.
But it's still, we have a long way to go. I think the only way to really get Republican senators and Republican House members is to organize at the state and local level.
And as the economy tanks, constituents will say, this is really a problem. The prices are too high. I have no purchasing power. And that is going to shift some people. But that's depressing.
Yes, it's depressing, but it's also hopeful. The economy, I don't know whose side the economy should be on, the positive or the negative.
Mine.
But
both. That's the thing about all of this
stuff. But the
economy
is, it's not exactly tanking. I mean, the unemployment report yesterday was pretty good, but it was done in the middle of the month. It was not done at the end of the month.
So the next one will be telling.
The next one will be telling. And what we know also for last week is that the U.S. economy shrank during the first quarter of the year.
What does that mean?
It means that the total goods and services produced were less this quarter, January to April 15th, than they were in the previous
So
quarter.
it's contracting
It's
like a
actually contracting, which is amazing because the population is still growing, small, but
Right.
it's still population growth. Productivity still, as you would expect, productivity is going up. And so to have the economy contracting is a very dangerous sign. And if you have 2 quarters of contraction, you are officially in a recession. So this economy is very fragile, and if Trump continues to push the,
Well, it's Biden's fault, though. I
yes,
saw that all week.
well, there's a limit to how far Trump can push the Biden's fault narrative, because when the economy keeps on going down, and I think unfortunately it will, I think really starting today or maybe starting last week, he can no longer say it's Biden's fault. The Biden economy, the last quarter of the Biden administration, the economy grew 2.4%. That's pretty healthy growth. The first quarter, full quarter of this year, mostly under Trump, it shrank I think it's 0.3%. Doesn't sound like much, but it shrank. That's a huge difference to go from a growing economy to a shrinking economy. And what's the difference? Is there any exogenous outside force? Is it another sickness, a terrible contagion?
Pandemic, I know.
Is it?
Nope.
What's the difference? It is
Donald Trump.
Donald J. Trump. That's the difference.
And the tariffs and the decisions and the bond market and the choices and tweets
and attacking Jerome Powell. I mean, all of that continues even now to get investors very nervous. And I think it's making companies exceedingly nervous. Nobody's going to hire. This is why I'm worried about the next unemployment report.
Right.
And this is why, conversely, I am, or you could say perversely, positive, because I think this helps organize and generate and mobilize and energize people to get him out of office.
So, but the tariffs are starting to hit. Consumers are starting to see higher prices. There's murmurings about gas is going to go up. People are starting to see in their normal lives of purchasing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Amazon says, well, we're going to put on our website, we're going to be transparent, and we will tell you how much the tariffs are costing you.
Wasn't that amazing?
But then what happened?
Well, in that same day, this is a matter of hours. Amazon says it's going to, it's thinking about planning to show consumers how much the tariffs are going to cost for each item. And then Trump sees that and explodes, and his stooge in chief, the White House.
You mean Musk or a different one?
No, the White House communications director.
Right.
She accuses Amazon of being political and being partisan and doing awful things, and then Trump gets on the phone with Bezos. Now, this is all
Tiles him
within
out.
the matter of hours. And then Bezos backs off. And he says, we won't plan to do that. We're not going to show people the effect of the tariffs.
To which Trump says, good guy,
Yeah.
just got off the phone. He
He
really solved the problem fast.
He solved the problem fast. This is in a microcosm of everything that really Trump represents, and also the corruption of Trumpism. This is a microcosm of big business, kissing his tuchus. You know what a tuchus is?
Of course I know what a tuchus is. It's your
Okay.
hiney.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Not mine, but it's a hiney.
One's
One's
gluteus
hiney,
maximus.
yes. So this is, I think, one of the worst examples of how consumers are being screwed by Trump and by big business and by high tech and by this incredible, just the payoffs.
Right, and
the
the marriage between
and the
business and
the
politics.
anticipatory surrender.
Right.
You know.
Solved the problem, he said. There wasn't a problem there. There was going to be transparency around what tariffs were charging customers
Exactly.
via Amazon.
The problem was for Trump. The
Right.
problem was that people were going to see
Don't expose
that
me.
the tariffs were going to cost people a lot.
Right.
And he's been saying, no, people don't pay the tariffs. Consumers don't pay the tariffs. And so this was going to contradict his lie,
Right.
another Trump lie.
So I will have a positive on the list, a seed of hope, and that is that we hear less about Musk and Doge. I mean, terrible things are still afoot, and he still has, his hands on the reins in some regard, but he's spending less time in D.C. But it was interesting this past week where he said, I'm just doing what Clinton did. I'm just thinking about, reinterpreting things. I'm going to rethink government. I mean, this has been done before by a Democrat. Same.
Can I
Tell us.
tell you, I was there.
Right.
Hello.
And just let's remind us a little bit. So there was this NPR, this committee that came in and said, here's 300 and whatever it was, 82 recommendations.
This was the Reinventing Government
Right.
initiative. And Al Gore was in charge. And every cabinet member, including me, we were all, part of it.
And the goal was?
And the goal was to cut unnecessary expenditures without harming the public.
Efficiency gains, right?
Well, creating efficiency gains, but doing it in a way that didn't harm people, even including the civil service. I mean, at the Labor Department, we went from, I think it was 16,000 people down to maybe 11,000, but not anybody was laid off. Everybody was given notice. It was done in a way that minimized the damage to human beings, to people who were working in factories and in mines and every place else. We made sure that we did not do any damage. And that's what efficiency is all about. Do as much good as you were doing before and don't do any bad. That's the big contrast with what Elon Musk and Trump are doing. They are creating chaos.
But they're not economists. They don't talk about Pareto optimization. Right?
Well, no, neither do you. Do you normally talk about Pareto?
When I'm not watching the courts. That's what I'm doing a lot of.
But it is true.
That's
word
not a
efficiency,
tenet of Doge. A tenet is not do no harm or do as little harm or humans above all else.
But this is where the doctrine of social Darwinism comes in. Because behind Doge, behind Musk, is this efficiency means survival of the fittest. Let's get rid of people who are not strong enough, who are not needed, and
who are not saluting. I mean, let's be real.
And who are not saluting. And this has absolutely nothing to do with saving money, because you're getting rid of people who are in the IRS, who are IRS auditors, who would audit rich people, and you get rid of the IRS auditors, you have fewer auditors of rich people, so the rich don't have to pay what they owe. The government doesn't get $300 billion owed to them. This is, I think historians will look back on Doge and Musk and Trump as the ringleader and say it was one of the most shameful periods of our history. Now, you say that Elon Musk is leaving. He's still around. He says he's going to be there one day a week.
But you saw that Trump used the past tense for him.
Yes.
That was about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
It is interesting. Well, I think Trump knows that Elon Musk's approval rating is down in the cellar, 35% approval.
That Wisconsin Supreme Court race.
It did prove a lot.
It was a hit.
Because no longer can Elon Musk threaten to put money into a campaign. In fact, he becomes a liability for candidates. And you're absolutely right, Wisconsin. You're sounding on my side. You're sounding positive.
Yeah.
It's good.
Touche. I don't know. I feel like we're do-si-doing and going around the other side.
It is.
You want me to get negative again?
No, I don't want you to get negative. I think we are in a very complicated period.
Yeah,
a lot of people come up to me and they say, "What are we going to do? How are we going to get out of this? I can't sleep. A lot of people like you, they say, I'm even afraid to read the papers in the morning." It's so important to step back and try to understand the big currents and the big frame, the big picture. And when I do that, at least now, Heather, honestly, I'm feeling better.
Okay. I'm going to remind us of this
Yes,
in the
please
next
do.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
In terms of is there anything you're doing? I mean, I know you're constantly writing on Substack and those kinds of things, but what do you do in your downtime? Do you do anything to
I don't
try
have
and
any downtime. What are
no,
you
but try
talking
to
about?
revive your spirit? I mean, in the evenings, do you read a book? Do you go for a
I've been
constitutional?
watching the the series, this Masterpiece Theater series. By the way, public broadcasting
I know.
is now under the gun. Executive order, just
Well, you were at a KQED event.
yes,
Speaking.
it was for public broadcasting, basically the whole western part of the United States.
And the EO came out during that event, and they came on stage and talked about it.
I know, I know.
And it's on the chopping block.
And but it's so people love public television, public radio.
course.
Mr. Rogers. I mean, a lot of kids were brought up on it.
Oh, for sure.
So I think
321
it's-
Contact, that wasn't your
I think
time.
it's going to be
Electric
very,
Company,
I
that
think
was
it's
not your time.
That was not mine.
It was my time.
I think it's going to be hard to get rid of it. But you asked me about what I was doing in my spare time. A little bit.
PBS.
The series. It's a wonderful series based upon Hilary Mantel's books. And the latest part of the series is called The Mirror and the Light. And this is all about the life of Henry VIII.
This is Wolf Hall.
Yes, and Thomas Cromwell. And Henry VIII is played by Damian Lewis. And
He's fantastic.
He is fabulous.
Such a
but
good actor.
But you look at Henry VIII, and you just can't help think we're back. This is Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump as if we were in the 16th century, with Donald Trump in the 16th century, with the court, with the obsequious, with people, kissing the tush, and people scheming and not telling him, and him scheming and being paranoid. And I mean, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing.
You heard Trump has a military parade planned for his birthday? Read that this week.
It makes me nauseous. Can you imagine what the founders of this republic, including George Washington, who were so afraid of centralized power and the monarchy, and were so negative understandably, about anything that resembled monarchy, and created a constitution really to stop the centralization of power. If they were here today and saw what Donald Trump is planning for his birthday, a military parade.
Talk about cost savings. I feel like we could save.
I mean, it is just.
What is it going to be? At 90 million or something?
So obscene. It is obscene.
It really is.
Now you put me in a bad mood successfully.
I apologize. Just
I
watch
was
Wolf
feeling- I
Hall.
was
It gets
feeling-
really great at the end.
No, Thomas Cromwell
I know.
meets his. I don't want to.
No, don't
spoiler.
Spoiler alert,
But,
everybody.
yeah.
I think people know that.
Yeah.
It's historical. Okay, so you're doing that. I like my weekends because I spend them with my kiddo. And then, of course, Sunday, for those who celebrate, is Star Wars Day. That's tomorrow.
Star Wars Day.
May the 4th be
May
with
the
you.
4th be with you.
Also, my bestie Marissa's birthday. Yeah.
Marissa's happy birthday, Marissa.
So, but thank you for that. So, May 4th, Star Wars Day. I love to, torture
George
you with
Lucas.
your past.
Yes.
I
Well,
know you knew it. It was 1994. I did my
George-
research.
Yes, George Lucas and we went to a childcare center.
Well, you just had a day with Lucas. I mean, you
Dad
just
with
went about.
my friend George.
Yeah,
and we
you
went
showed
to-
him around the labor department.
And it was, these little kids were so cute. It was in the Labor Department's child care center. And George came around with me, and we said hello to the kids, and we put on Star Wars uniforms, and
Ooh, I love it.
it was great.
Yeah, that is good. And also, we have to thank this table we're using.
A thank you table.
It was made by, well, thank you for the table. I mean, I think that's on the gratitude list, but also the person who helped craft it for us is Richard Ross.
Richard, thank you, Richard, for the
So
table.
this was a
Seriously.
free table on the side of the road, and we needed kind of is this a lima bean? What do you think it is? A kidney bean? What shape?
Oh, it's a kind of lima.
Oh, it's lima. So, and we needed this little shape for in here, and drilled holes, and it's on casters, and so it's
great.
upcycled.
It's great. I mean,
Thank you,
so
Richard.
much of this show is because of people who are friends of the show and people who supplied
In the community.
and supplied the theme music.
I know, so good.
And thank you all. Can I thank you again?
Yes, and I will thank you and
Thank
toast you. Do you toast coffee? We do.
We do. And did you see the little coffee Klatch? Mm-hmm. That was
I know.
also.
Should we be selling these?
I don't know if you would. You like one?
Low. It'll just be the cost of making them with a small donation. We could do it.
Well, also thank you. Oh, I'm going to turn here. Thank you to Michael Lahanis Calderon, who is right over there behind the camera, and thank you to all of you. I mean, the 100 days was hard enough. It is, even though I've tried to be positive, and I am feeling basically positive, there is a lot long and difficult to go through. And your activism, your caring, your commitment, your dedication to the ideas that have made this country great, really great, not the MAGA great, but I'm talking about democracy, the rule of law, concern about social justice, and, shall we say it, diversity as a good thing. Thank you for keeping alive all of those flames.
Hear, hear.
And thank you. We'll see you next Saturday.
I am proud to present George W. Lucas with the 3rd annual Working Mother Magazine Family Champion Award. George?